Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is week 1 of the 2024 NFL season. I could not be more excited to be here today. My name is Ren Smith. I'm a football clown. I'm one of the Football Clowns Anonymous sort of commune, here joined by my co-clown, Kurtis Pinkney.
Week 1,
Love that. Love that little extra flair there. Yeah. How you doing? Are you as excited for this as I am?
I am thrilled, sir. The NFL schedule makers blessed us with a beautiful Thursday night game to open the season with. It's looking like it's going to be a great game. We're praying for a great game out of the Ravens and Chiefs. Plenty of optimism for Bills Mafia over here. You know, the Eagles looking sharp too. Vikings looking like they're going to be a dumpster fire again this year. What's not to be looking forward to?
I mean, the last part is not something I'm really looking forward to, but in general, you know, like you said, the NFL schedule makers and hopefully these script writers, if you will, are ready to give us another wonderful wild ride for the next.
Sure.
I guess that'd be 5 months of our lives.
That's
so
right.
The dark ages are over. Very, very exciting times. So
yes,
we're kind of diving into, I think, what we're going to want to do for, you know, every single weekly episode that we want to make during the 2024 season. It's a little weird this week. We're recording we're recording these during Monday Night Football. This is the time slot. Obviously, there's no Monday Night Football today. This is Monday, September 2nd. And, we're going to be using that time slot to be recording. Part of the reason for that is to try to get a little bit of an advantage on the lines. The betting lines before they move a lot during the week, so we can take advantage of some of the early positions on some of those lines. But yeah, so we're kind of demoing this today. We'll see how it goes, and we're going to just take a healthy dose of week 1 conversation, I think, here, and talk about the things we're excited about. And we also have some bets that we'll want to talk about here at some point in the episode as well. And I'd be remiss to not tip my hat to our new listeners. At least, hopefully, we've shared this with a few of our fantasy leagues and close football contacts over the last week. And the reception, I think we were expecting it to be overwhelmingly negative because we have no idea what we're doing. And it was not overwhelmingly negative. We still have no idea what we're doing, but we appreciate all of you. And if you're still watching this week, means you stuck with us for at least one more week. So we really appreciate that. And
yeah, the feedback was cool. My commish in my other league, the other league that I care about, this motherfucker, man, he went and listened to the whole episode and took down notes on every single take that I had and posted it in the league's group chat. And I thought that was first of all, I thought he did it with ChatGPT, and I was like, bro, did you use AI for that? And he's like, no, I listened to the whole thing, man. And I'm glad you decided to bless us with your whole draft strategy a week before the draft. That was, great information. I love it. But, he messaged me on the side and he was like, yeah, I realized that if I keep this posted in the group chat, nobody's going to go and listen because I just took notes on everything you guys said. So, he he revised his message and was like, you guys should go listen to it so you know how to cock block Kurtis. And, it was cool, man. It was nice to get the support from some friends and get a couple of subscribers.
Yeah,
on our way to making some money. So Ren loses his bet to me, but that's okay. We'll get there.
Hey, you know what? I'm happy to be proven wrong if it comes to that point. Yeah, have you had? I was actually curious. I wanted to ask, have you had that draft yet?
Tomorrow night.
Okay, all right. So This is the one you said was going to go awful because everybody else is going to have these notes written down about, everything that we said last week on our fantasy preview.
Yeah, I've started scouting out other players that I'm interested in that I did not talk about on that episode, just in case there are a handful of folks in there who want to try and make my life miserable. So yeah. I've got a plan B in place.
I love that. Yeah, I actually got I sent this episode, or I guess last week's episode, to my mom because I had a mention in there about how she sniped Kincaid away from me 1 pick ahead of time. And so she has a commute to work and she's on her way home from her. So she listens to half of it on the way in and then she listens to the second half on the way home. And I just get this voicemail from her in the car. It's like 10 seconds long on the way home. She had paused the episode as soon as she came up, and she left me a 10-second voicemail to say, I hope Kincaid kicks ass this year, and just hangs up. I'm like, thanks, Mom. I appreciate it.
Yep. And she's gonna snipe you all over again for him too.
I mean, this is what makes fantasy great, right? Is the trash talk. So, and
Absolutely.
we'll kind of see how our pod evolves as far as how much we want to talk about fantasy. I mean, if you and I are playing each other, we'll be talking fantasy for half the episode probably.
1000%.
But I think
I agree that there's probably something there, because I mean that's that was the impetus for you and I even deciding to sit down and talk football in the first place, is because we play fantasy together, and that's where half of our conversations were coming from. And the betting stuff was cool too, and eventually that's what our conversations evolved to contain, or alongside the fantasy stuff. But I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if we touched on fantasy a little bit more here and there.
Yeah, we'll kind of see how it evolves and what's on our mind based on how things are going. For this week, I think we have we're going to skip over, obviously what's happening during Monday Night Football will be happening right now, and there's nothing to report there. And I think we're also going to recap the previous week, because we're going to be making bets and that sort of thing. So we'll have recapping to do from the previous week. We're going to have a segment. I think we plan to have a segment called Clown of the Week, basically, and that's just who was the dumbest, and half the time it's probably going to be me, and half the time it's actually going to be an actual football player. But we'll have an opportunity to sort of claim that.
Yeah, strong chance Ren dominates that segment over the course of the year.
I don't know. I've seen your picks actually for this coming week, and I don't know. I think that it's pretty easy to say that you're going to be the clown of the week next week, at least. I'm not saying it'll never be me, but I think there's something to be desired from seeing some of your picks here. Let me just say, you have some explaining to do, sir.
Yes, I do. Can't really hide from those, I suppose.
No, but I think probably a good place to start actually is just to jump into some of these games for this coming week. And you had alluded to the NFL schedule makers giving this wonderful Ravens matchup with the Chiefs as our Thursday kickoff game, so that of course, Chiefs are raising a Super Bowl banner for the second year in a row. Last year they hosted the Lions and they lost the game. This year they're hosting the Baltimore Ravens, who they beat in Baltimore in the AFC Championship game to go to said Super Bowl. So what a great way to jump this off, or I'm sorry, to kickstart the NFL season. And I guess I'll just pass it over to you. And what are you kind of thinking about with this game, or what are you looking for?
Man, I think it's going to be a bit of a slugfest. They both have pretty good defenses, which I suspect is going to put a smidge of a governor on both of their offenses. I suspect we'll probably get to this later when we're talking bets, but I do like the Ravens to upset the Chiefs to open the season. And we Ren and I filled out our projections for our scores for week 1 already, and you also have them upsetting the Chiefs. You have them winning pretty handily, actually, which is kind of interesting. Let's not forget Lamar Jackson is the league's MVP. I understand he's playing Patrick Mahomes and it's an Arrowhead, but if things had gone, they played a terrible game in the AFC Championship game. I think if they had played up to their what they were producing throughout the course of the season, they probably would have walked away from that game heading into the Super Bowl. They lost. Oh, go ahead.
Wasn't there a play in that game? I maybe I'm misremembering. It's the wrong game, but wasn't there a play in that game where somebody was diving for the pylon, and that was one of those like fumble over the pylon touchback type of things?
Zay Flowers, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Zay Flowers. Yeah, I mean, it's just like things like that where I think on paper that even not even just the way that they played per se, like on paper they were the better team, and they even almost played like the better team for the majority of that game. And we were destined for Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. I think that's really what it boiled down to.
I mean, the script, right? You can't write the script and not have Taylor Swift kissing Travis Kelce on the 50. I mean, We called that. I'm pretty sure when we talked about that game last year, that was a note that we took is the Chiefs are going to probably win, even though we both think the Ravens should win. The Chiefs are going to because of Taylor Swift. That's all a giant conspiracy theory for sure. Tinfoil hats are out on that one.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I do have it as a somewhat of a handed victory for the Ravens, and I think I'm probably being a little bit over aggressive on what the margin of victory is going to be. That being said, I just don't think the Chiefs know how to open after a Super Bowl. I think the Ravens have more to play for in that moment. The Chiefs have they would love to three-peat. Let's not kid ourselves. But they have nothing to play for in this game. This is a party for them. The Ravens have spent the last 8 months fuming over that game that they should have or could have won. And it's the same thing. Like last year they raised the Super Bowl banner, and Dan Campbell went in there with his new freshly branded Lions team, and they got that victory. And I don't expect it to be anything different here. I love the fact that actually the spread I think has moved to Chiefs -3 and Ravens +3 is the great spot because you've got. Not only do I think they're going to win the game, but they're for sure, I think, going to be within a field goal. It's going to be one of those kind of slugfest type of close games. But I'm actually really excited to see it because of all the storylines, I guess, that we've already touched on. I can't. Great
to your emotional point. I can't imagine what those players when the schedule came out and they saw Chiefs Week 1 in Arrowhead. I cannot imagine what they were seeing, what they were feeling in that locker room. Workouts probably went crazy that week. Everybody had it circled on the calendar. I think I would have probably agree that this game means a lot more to the Ravens than it does the Chiefs. And it's crazy that this game might be a deciding factor for home field advantage in the playoffs, come week 18, 19, which is the schedule makers they were in their bag for this one. Just opening the schedule with a playoff game is just what more could you ask for?
No, I think it's wonderful, but I actually will disagree with you that it's going to be just for deciding the number 1 seed at that time.
Right.
Look,
it's the Texans, right?
Playoff implications, of course, but not just. Well, okay, I did say the Texans are going to pick 1 seed, and I do have a bet on that, and I'm going to stand by that until they prove me otherwise. That being said, the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs because they're going to win their shitty division with probably 11 wins, and then they'll probably just go on and three-peat. I don't think that the Chiefs are going to be in contention for the 1 seed in the playoffs. They will certainly be in contention to three-peat for no reason other than it's Patrick Mahomes. But I don't believe that they're going to be a 14-team, bubble 1 seed type of thing. Ravens might be.
So you like the Ravens and the Texans then to compete for the 1 seed, or anybody else, if not the Chiefs?
No, those would probably be the 2 teams that would come to mind for me. I mean, it's not going to be like, I don't know. People might say the Jets or something like that, but I'm not high on the Jets until they prove me otherwise.
We are definitely going to archive this little talking point here. Last week, Isaiah Pacheco better than CMC. This week, Patrick Mahomes has no shot to be the 1 seed in the AFC. You are saying a lot of things. Right?
You know what? What's funny is I didn't say either of those things. If we're going to go back,
that's what I heard.
Hey,
that's what I'm hearing.
I didn't say Patrick Mahomes has no shot to be the 1 seed. I'm making a prediction. All I'm saying is that's
what you just said.
That's my opinion. I don't think he's going to be up there for that, and I don't think that. I never said that Isaiah Pacheco was going to be better than CMC. I just said he could ease. I said he could.
Oh man, this flustered right now. Paint him in the corner.
I just said I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up CMC-like numbers over the course of the season. That the fact that he was being drafted as RB8 was a bit of a miss by whoever wrote the order of running back order. That's basically all I was trying to say. Is that he had upward mobility from there? Is kind of what I was trying to say.
Sure, I hear you. I hear you, buddy.
But in a more general sense, I do like your point that we're archiving these conversations. We're archiving all these conversations, and
That's
we
right.
can use all this as fodder for trash talk. And I think that's one of the things that we were excited about with even starting this project in the first place.
Bro, I'm going to be really full by the end of the season with all this fodder that you're providing me, sir.
I hope to not disappoint in that regard. Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, speaking of the Jets, we have or maybe we could just actually step through in terms of the chronological order that the games are going to have. But on my sheet here, I have Jets and 49ers as another key game that we wanted to talk about.
I know you're itching to get to this one.
Oh, I mean, I am. I mean, I think it was our very first episode that we did this. I want to say it was our very first episode we did in July to kind of reboot this in the off season. I'm really excited to see, and I have never said these words before, but I'm really excited to see Aaron Rodgers play football. And I'm excited because as a football fan, you want to know how this guy does in a new place, in a new organization. It's the Tom Brady being dropped into the Buccaneers. It's a carbon copy of that. And I think it was against the 49ers last year. It was the same, or I don't know if it was the same opponent. No, I'm sorry. It was on the wrong coast. So never mind. But Aaron Rodgers had a Monday Night Football game also last year in week 1, and that's when he got injured on the fourth play or something like that. And so having that also as a storyline, I feel bad a little bit in that sense where he's got to go back on national TV and now not get injured. Good luck with that. And it's also a tough matchup too. The 49ers have kind of been his nemesis. Actually, there's been a couple of noteworthy playoff losses by the Packers when he was there against the Niners. So anyway, overall, I think it's a really interesting matchup. And again, kudos to the NFL schedule makers for giving us that as a nationally televised game.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of quite a few great games that they've set up for us this week. And I mean, obviously Rodgers, huge storyline. We all want to see how he does. I am more curious about that 49ers offense. They have had a lot of turmoil this offseason. The CMC early offseason or early training camp injury, I think it was his calf that he was dealing with. I'm sure he'll be fine for week 1, but it's just, those soft tissue injuries popping up early in the season like that, not great. The whole Ayuk saga. I mean, he got his bag, of course, which we all knew he was going to. We didn't know which team, or is he going to be a Niner, whatever. He finally got his payday. Congratulations to him and his family. But you're coming in a little late in the training camp, and are you going to be looking a little sluggish week 1? I don't know. One storyline that I am kind of flabbergasted that I don't see getting much fanfare at all is Trent Williams is nowhere to be seen in the 49ers building right now because he wants a new contract. If Trent Williams is not playing week 1, that's a huge piece for the offensive line. That's arguably the most important position on the offensive line for our right-handed Brock Purdy. If Brock is, under a little bit more duress than normal from that blind side, and he starts making some boneheaded throws with Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed playing cornerback for the Jets, will the rails fall off a little? In a rusty Ayuk, maybe the timing's a smidge off. I don't know. Like, are the wheels going to fall off a little early in that game? I wonder if there is potential for the Jets defense, which should be a top 3, top 5 defense again this year, to kind of, jump on that Niners offense a little bit and kind of take the game over. And then, Aaron Rodgers only has to be he doesn't need to be his former MVP self. He just has to be good enough to not lose the game at that point, which I think we would all agree he's probably still good enough to do that. And for those reasons, that's why I think the Jets are a sneaky pick for an upset in week 1. And that's kind of where my logic came from with that. And I know you've been wanting to, talk a little bit of mess on this. So I thought I'd go ahead and set the stage for you to jump on me.
No, I mean, I think you got ahead on that really well, because that's, we just, for a programming note, we put all of our picks in. We make our picks blind. We don't look and see what the other person's picking. We just make all of our picks blind, and then we drop them into the spreadsheet once they're already made at the same time. And then we have the opportunity to look over, and the Jets was one that really stuck out to me. I think you did a really good job actually explaining where your head's at with it. And I think it certainly makes sense. It is tough to me still seeing, you're flying across the country as a Jets team, but it is actually a good point. You mentioned the offensive turmoil and the fact that the Jets defense should theoretically be one of the best defenses again this year. They were one of the best defenses last year with Zach Wilson at quarterback. And I know that's, he plays on the offense. If they can't stay on the field, or if you've got a guy like Aaron Rodgers that can actually keep you on the field, your defense is now rested. They could theoretically they could even be better this year. And so I think we were even talking about that at the end of last year, where
you had to feel just awful for that defense, just bodying all the offense, just holding everybody in check, and just could not win those games.
No,
just
because
terrible.
The offense was awful. I mean, without a quarterback, I mean, it proves to you the importance of somebody really good at the quarterback position that can really kind of hold you down, at least passable, to keep your offense on the field for a little while. Let the defense rest and give the offense or having a short field then, and I don't know. It's just you can't be losing the time of possession battle 20-40 and expect your defense to be doing well. They were still doing well. Anyway, yeah, I agree with you. We have to feel for them. So I'm not going to roast you as much for that pick, because I think you actually did a good job of describing it. I've still got the Niners winning the game. I think the Niners are still one of the best teams in football. I know we have some of this drama, a little bit with Ayuk, which recently, again, got wrapped up. But I am not going to pick against the Niners until further notice. And Rodgers and the Jets don't have to win this game for it to be an emotionally uplifting game. I think the things that they have is they need to be competitive, which I think they probably will be. And Rodgers needs to leave the field, or Rodgers needs to play the last snap for the Jets and not be injured. I think those are the only things that the Jets need to feel good. They don't need to win the game. I'm not saying that means they won't try, but the Niners, I think, are still, to me, on paper, the better team. So I'm not going to pick against them Monday night. Big matchup.
Yeah.
But I can see your logic now better than I could before.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I agree. The Niners seem like they have more to lose than the Jets do. I mean, I guess I'll maybe push back on that a little bit, because from a housekeeping standpoint, like a managerial standpoint, the Jets are pretty much all in on this Aaron Rodgers led offense, or team, if you will. I don't know or recall the specifics off the top of my head, but the team is basically constructed with a bunch of 1 year, we're in it to win it this year type of contracts. And I suspect if the wheels fall off for this team, they are not in a position where it's just a quick shift away from this this team that we built around A-Rod. It's everybody's losing their job. Saleh, the GM, Rodgers is probably going to leave because he doesn't fucking care. And then, Garrett Wilson's going to be disgusted because he's going to be a wasted rookie and fumbling his wide receiver. I think it's going to be a turmoil. If they are like 1-3 by week 4, that's not going to be great for the Jets. Like, that New York media is going to tear them apart, and that's not going to be good.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know who they play in these upcoming weeks, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're 3-1 or 3-2 and still find a way to lose this Monday Night Football game against a road game against the Niners. I don't think they have to win. I just think they need to be competitive. To your point, nobody's going to fault them if they walk away losing by a field goal in this game. So, but again, it's not to say that they're going to just mail it in and not care either. So I don't know if that's a super strong point I'm making, but I don't know. I think the Niners are better.
Yeah, so I mean that's probably the smart move, but I am a sucker for chaos. So go Jets.
Well, I like being the sucker for chaos, and I was just remembering last year at this same time. So we started doing this whole spreadsheet filling out thing at the beginning of last year. We didn't start recording the pod until week 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever. But the first week, I remember distinctly, we had the Rams getting obliterated and saying that they were going to be an awful team. And that did not verify at all. And so, right, exactly. And so, for us to just sit here and say, for me to just sit here and take the easy pick, oh, the Niners, they were good last year. Okay, right. Yeah. I mean, you're probably actually making the right pick. Even though I think it's wrong, it's probably right because it feels wrong.
Because NFL, because of, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of which, we have one more game here, I think, that we wanted to touch on, speaking of the Rams, which is we wanted to talk about the Lions and the Rams, which I think is in Detroit, isn't it? Or
yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, sir.
And that must be the where it's positioned on my sheet. It must be the Sunday Night Football game on Sunday evening, which is excellent and amazing because that is also a playoff rematch. And this is a Rams team that's feeling good and confident, and they should theoretically be a playoff contender. Maybe not a Super Bowl contender, but they should easily be a playoff contender. And they get a rematch against the place that they lost last year in Ford Field against Jared Goff and that sort of high-flying Lions offense. And so I'm pretty excited for that game too. I guess I can pitch it over to you and see, because I kind of took the reins on the last one.
High-flying Lions offense. Words I never thought I would hear all together in the same sentence. Absolutely crazy.
Me either.
What a time! What a time to be alive. Even with Stafford and Megatron back in the day, nobody was saying, or Barry Sanders, nobody was saying high-flying Lions offense. What a time to be alive. I think we should all take a moment to appreciate that. All right, moment over. We like the Lions to beat the Rams. You
Well done.
You have a much higher scoring game than I do. I don't know. I'm not really sure where to start. I love the Stafford Lions storyline narrative. I suspect it probably won't be hyped up as much this time because it's not a playoff game. I don't know. Yeah, the Rams currently are dealing with, I think Puka's got a little bit of injury concerns. I think he's dealing with a hamstring or something. Cooper Kupp he's getting up there, but I think he should be fine. So I don't know. I'm sure Stafford and Cooper Kupp, if Nakua were to miss, would probably be okay. But the Lions are a very complete team right now. Like, the defense solid, offense solid. I don't think the Rams can afford to have any weaknesses or make too many mistakes. Or the Lions, I suspect the Lions would take advantage of that. I mean, you could probably make the same argument, the vice versa argument, I guess, but I don't see the Rams as being a team as capable as the Lions right now of being able to take advantage of a team that might be showing just a smidge of weakness. I don't know. And it's in a dome. Jared Goff in a dome is borderline unstoppable. Amon-Ra St. Brown, hashtag that guy. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are probably going to run all over Rams defense with no Aaron Donald this year, which I am very curious to see how that works out. The Detroit is just I feel like this to me makes more sense using the argument you just tried to use for San Francisco, that they're just the better team. Detroit is just a better, more complete team. The Rams have more question marks in my opinion than the Lions do, and to try and answer those questions on the road in a very tough new, rejuvenated Ford Field, that fan base, they're going to be going crazy. Stafford's not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to hear shit on offense. That's a tough environment to try and get a road win in week one. I don't think it's in the cards for the Rams.
No, I don't either, and I don't have anything to add. I mean, I think you covered it pretty well. The Lions are the better team. I'm not going to pick against them in this game until somebody proves to me that they're not, Super Bowl contending. Dan Campbell has injected a serious amount of life into this team, going all the way back. I mentioned it earlier, the week 1 win last week against the Chiefs to build that sort of hype. This team probably should have made the Super Bowl last year. And then, of course, lost to the Chiefs because that's what happens. But, they were ahead of the Niners by, 17 or something like that. I want to say in the second half. This team is going to be back, and they're going to be wanting that kind of revenge, and they're going to want to start off on the right foot. I see a shootout, not maybe because I actually see a shootout, but because I want to see a shootout. So that might have actually kind of been, as you're going through and you're making your picks, you're just thinking like, dang, that'd be so cool, wouldn't it? So I
1,000%.
I put like 38-31, which it's not really defensible. I mean, I like the over.
It's a little aggressive.
It is a little aggressive. The over under is at 51, and that's just that's a high bar to clear. And I would take the, gun to my head, I'm taking the over. But I can't. I don't know if I can put my money where my mouth is on that.
No,
necessarily, just because it's such a high bar to clear, especially in the NFL. And if Puka doesn't play, or if he's hobbled, that that doesn't hurt, or sorry, that hurts the ability for points to rack up in this game as well. But I don't know. I think maybe it's more just the excitable sort of NFL fan in me is excited to see a shootout here.
Yeah, I got that as a 27-17 game. I suspect that's probably more realistic. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I should or would we be shocked if it ended up being a 38-31 game? Probably not.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like you wouldn't be, you wouldn't have your like socks knocked off like you would if it was the Jets and Niners doing that, or if it was
correct.
The Browns and Cowboys or something that did a 38-31.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I hope your prediction is correct, because I mean that would just, I would love nothing more than to be sitting there on Sunday night with a nice stiff whiskey, watching this just back and forth air raid, because that's what it probably end up being, is an air show between the two teams. That would be wonderful. But yeah. So I mean, we've got some more. So what are you thinking, Ren? What direction you want to take this in? I mean, we've got some more storylines and just random thoughts that we had for week one. But you want to? I know you had some betting thoughts that you wanted to touch on. You want to jump into that, or how you?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know. I'm just give one quick. I know you had kind of just said let's leave this one off. I'm going to give one really quick honorable mention: the first ever NFL game being played in Brazil, Green Bay Packers and Philadelphia Eagles. I think that's also a really exciting thing to have. We have a Thursday prime time. We've got a Friday prime time. College football full slate on Saturday. Friday, the Sunday game's awesome. The Monday game's awesome. I don't know. I can't wait. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I don't know. I guess we have a couple other things that we wanted to touch on here. I'll go into the sort of bet strategy kind of thing, and then we can maybe circle back to some of these if we end up going faster than we thought we would. If that's cool with you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how interesting this will be or will not be, but I sent Kurtis a text about this over the weekend, and I said, remind me to tell you about this. And so I don't know, we'll just do it on the air. So this past weekend, I wanted to bet, or it was actually, I guess, Thursday, the CU Buffs were opening up their college football slate against NDSU. And I liked where I saw the spread basically at, which was NDSU plus 10.5. So just a quick side note on this before I go any further, I noticed actually over the course of the day before, the line moved from Buffs minus 9.5 to Buffs minus 10.5. So there was within a day or something like that, all this money starts pouring in. CU's going to kick the crap out of them. So that all this money pours in and it moves the line across that 10 mark. And so I then I guess I counter reacted and took NDSU plus 10.5. And I liked the points total, which originally was 59.5. And I kind of felt under was maybe good there. That's a lot. I mean, it's college football, but 59.5 felt like a little bit much to me. And then over the course of the 24 hours before the game, it moved down. All this money started pouring in on the under. And I took the over at 55.5. Fun fact, either one would have hit because there were 57 points. I don't think that is necessarily repeatable. But I thought it was kind of interesting. But anyway, so it comes down to it, and it's right before the game. I like the NDSU line. I like the points over. My question was, if I've got two of these bets that I like, do I parlay them or do I play them individually? And so what I wanted to know was, is there an advantage, or how much does the sports book sort of short you on taking a parlay versus doing individual bets? So what I thought of is, okay, so let's imagine a hypothetical here. You have $10 and you want to bet it on these two different things. If you put them together and you assume that there's a 50, let's assume that the betting line is actually where the 50-50 is, basically. So it's 50% likely to fall on either side. If you parlay them together, you have a 25% chance that you're going to hit the parlay because it's 50% times 50%. If you do them separately, you have the opportunity to salvage money by hitting one leg and not the other. But if you hit both of them, you lost money by not playing the parlay. But you would still have the opportunity if one of them hits to get a little bit of your money back. Anyway, I did this very, very quick back of the envelope calculation. A sports book will give you something like plus 256 to do a parlay, and it's minus 110 usually to bet on either side of something. But basically the expected value, if you assume that each thing was 50% likely, you actually will lose money over time by parlaying these things together. So you'll end up with the plus 256 that the sportsbook will give you is actually slightly less money overall available than if you bet them singles and add up all the possible outcomes, basically, or do sort of an expected value sort of thing. So I thought it was really interesting. It's like a 40-cent difference. And if you do the same thing with a 3-leg parlay, it's like the difference between recouping $14 or like $13 and $14.50 or something like that. So it's actually, I thought it was really interesting to think about how the book seems to be taking a bigger cut from you if you parlay these things together, assuming that everything again has a 50% likelihood. So I just talked a lot there. I want to pause and see if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense. However, the one counter thought that I have is I think it makes sense the later in the season that you go, because by that point, that is when Vegas is probably going to have their models more finely tuned for the current season, how the teams are shaken out, whatever variables they're inputting to set these lines. Early in the season, and this is 100% an all feelings, no facts type of thing. I don't have any data to support this, but I don't think I would be surprised if earlier in the season, those parlays would probably be more in your favor, just because I don't think Vegas is quite on top of the lines as well as they would be later in the season. So I think there's probably some inflection point where it makes sense to do parlays early on, and then as the season wears on, I would imagine probably pretty early, probably about like week 3 or 4, it makes sense to switch to singles and not think that you're smarter than Vegas, because I suspect by that time they have everything pretty well established and figured out.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it leads into sort of the next question that I asked of this sort of back of the envelope calculation, because this assumes that you're 50% likely no matter what, that you're basically betting on a coin flip. But the better question to be asking, and this is where I put this Excel sheet that I mentioned to you, Curtis, which who knows if it's actually useful, but basically what I wanted to know is, what if you're better than the sports book is basically the question. And so I agree with where you're coming from. And basically over the course of the season, the book probably gets better than it does at the very beginning of the season. If you are able, so if you can add value and sort of it becomes like 50% is no longer how likely it is, if you actually have a way that you can hit 60% of these legs. Now you have to just assume I can hit 60% of these individual legs. If you parlay them together, then you actually do start to make more money at that point. So, or if it's even true at like, you only need to really hit like 53 or 54% of bets for the parlays to start making you more money over the course of time. The thing is, now here's where the clown part comes in. How much do we believe in ourselves to be able to hit, 55, 60%? Because I think it's also true that if you're only, like, let's say you're really bad, right?
Yeah.
You will actually save more face by placing individual bets than you will in
Right.
parlays. Because if you're going to hit only 40 or 45% of your legs, you'll lose money, but you'll lose less money if you're, betting these singles, because sometimes you'll still hit something. So anyway,
Right.
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's basically what is your risk tolerance? What kind of strategy do you want to shoot for? Do you want the steady Eddie, you know, probably a more consistent and repeatable way of winning bets or producing income, if you will, from these bets, which would be the single leg bets? Or do you want to swing for the fences, knowing that your spike weeks in theory should, well, I don't know if they should, but would make you money if you hit, X percentage of those bets, knowing that you're going to lose more than you win. But when you win, you're going to feel really good about yourself that day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
Where do you land? Where do you land on that? I think I know where you land on that, but I'm going to just let you.
I prefer the parlays myself, mostly because I've had a little bit of success with them up to this point. Basically what ends up happening, or what's happened the past couple seasons, is I usually hit on a couple of, 4, or in one case a 5-leg parlay early in the season, and those winnings usually last me through the season, and I end up as a net positive. How would that have looked if I had done a bunch of single game or single leg parlays throughout the season? I don't know. But those early hits on those parlays, coupled with the promotions that they have throughout the year, where they boost something goofy to plus 100 and you just kind of double up here and there more often than not, unless, you bet on Justin Herbert.
Don't bring that up again.
Twice. That usually that's worked out for me. I don't know if it's a recommended or a professional strategy by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think anybody's ever gone broke making money, as a good friend of mine once said to me. So I it's been cool so far, but I am very much open to the idea of starting to tinker and come up with some new ideas and strategies. It, couldn't hurt to experiment a little bit.
No, I like the idea of parlaying early in the year. And actually, when I originally had texted you about this, I thought I had this great epiphany kind of thing. But it wasn't until I then ran the numbers to say, well, what if you're better than the book, basically? And there's still the question of, how do you get better than the book? And I don't know that I know the answer to that. And we tried to use this sort of agreement, and that's the whole sort of the thesis behind this whole podcast experiment that we were doing, basically, was let's put on our heads together and see if, when we agree, if we can be better than 50%. Now, we've yet to go back and look at last year's data to see if there's any way that we can, I guess, with a big enough sample size, add value to that point that, we're certainly creating extra value to the point where we're then, coming ahead, I guess, on that spectrum. So I would bet if we uploaded that spreadsheet, or if we started writing a little bit of code and digging around and poking around at that spreadsheet, I would bet there's something in there. Yeah,
I don't know how confident we would be in that something, but I'm sure there's something.
And then we would take it and we would apply it to this year, and then we would just get our ass handed to us, probably, as
with almost 100% certainty.
Very much so. So I know I like your idea of parlays, of keeping with the parlay trend. The only thing I will say is that there's probably a line, and this is more of a sort of mental capacity statement. There's probably a line where, if we decide we're going to only swing for the fences with 5-leg parlays until we hit one, we might be waiting around for a very long time.
Right. And I mean, we don't need to do 5 leg. I mean, that was just me. I hit the 4-leg the week before, and I was honestly just playing around. At first I was like, okay, I hit this 2-leg. Let me try a 3, hit the 3. Let me try a 4. And then I got up to 5, and I pretty much just cashed in after that. But, last year, I mean, we did pretty good with a lot of 3-leg parlays. I mean, that's how we ended up on the year, was we landed on a good amount of those. I think, if memory serves.
Enough to make up for it, because I think it's,
Right.
again, let's go to the 50% thing, where if you're going to place a parlay and you're going to assume it's 50% on each leg, you're only going to hit 12.5% of those. So you've got to be patient, I would say, and wait for your moment to hit those. But when we did, and we actually did, I think it was in the divisional round or something, we hit one
Yeah.
that made us like, I don't know, $80 or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here calling ourselves clowns all year and hating, why we're doing this. And then we ended up ahead on the year. And,
Right.
Without that one bet, it would have been the case. But, at a certain point, law of averages. And if we are really adding value, you'd think we would be doing better than 12.5% on hitting those. But also maybe it's more pessimistically that the blind squirrel is going to find a nut every once in a while. You just tap a bunch of buttons on your sports book. Eventually you'll win something.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one thing that just occurred to me is, if we are going to go down the rabbit holes of trying to be scientists about this, one of these days we're going to need to sit down and define, what exactly does adding value mean?
I think yes, let me just say really quickly what I would, my knee-jerk reaction to that is, can we hit more than 50%, reliably hit more than 50% of spreads or points over unders? Do we have a method, or actually does our intuition just by naturally allow us to hit more than 50% of those? That's what I would consider adding value. Or let's say it's something even longer odds. Let's say it's something that's like plus 200 or plus 300. And we say, no, actually, based on such and such of approach or method or perception, we believe that something that's plus 150 is actually something that's about 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
So and if we really believed that, you would smash that plus 150 every single time, because you're getting better odds than the book is giving you, or you believe that something is at a different odds than the book says it is.
Yeah.
I think that's where adding value would go, or that's what it means to me.
That's a fair response. I also can see us taking this in a lot of like this line of thinking is going to open up a lot of different questions, or like what if our portfolio, like what if the whole season we did 80% 60 single game bets and 20% of our pot on the parlays? What if we just did all 2-leg parlays all season? What if we did all 3 legs? What if what if we had 50% of the games where we bet all feelings, no facts? What if we did 50% of the games where we bet all facts, no feelings? We are going to open up a lot of can of worms. I think there is potential for us to maybe hit on something. I'm sure there are white papers out there somewhere, or research papers on these topics that we could probably reference to, get a head start on all these thoughts. And who knows, maybe there's some good content here in the future where we just nerd out about betting for a little bit. I'm sure there are some other degenerates out there that like to listen to this kind of stuff, because I mean we're starting to talk number. I suspect that a percentage of our audience at the moment is completely checked out, because we have gone off the rails with our thinking about betting and how to approach betting, and why would I do this instead of that. And
I was just about to say that, because we have not talked about actual football stuff in the last like 10 minutes or so. So thank you for entertaining my sidebar about math, stats, and
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
No, and I mean, I appreciate it. I think it's all kind of what goes into, making this a profitable thing for us. But we also want to, make sure we're still talking about football. Some of these strategy things, I think the two of us should take offline and think about those things sort of as far as how
probably couldn't hurt.
Yeah, probably. So, but we should move back into actually what we're thinking about for this week. So, we've got a number of things that we identified that, we made our blind predictions blind from each other. We have a number of things that we want to, I guess pounce on, if you will, if they're still there. Do you want to take us through some of these bets and some of these things that we sort of put together here? For
Yeah. So I mean, we already touched on Baltimore. We like them to cover the spread. We had it at when they were at a 2.5. So we do like that +3. And I know last year we had talked about maybe not messing with the lines this year, but if we decide to tweak that line a little bit, we might bump that to 3.5.
I don't mind that, but actually I wanted to say just this for the listeners and just maybe for us to get into it. You know what? I'm feeling, I hate this because I spend all this time thinking about this, where we should just leave it at the line. Why don't we just do Ravens money line? Because we're both feeling it. What do you think?
Let's fucking go, bro. That's the kind of energy that I need for the opening game for the season.
Love that.
Ravens money line is what we're betting.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Fucking Ren. Let's fucking go, son.
I'm making up for the last 15 minutes sidebar of
I need that. All righty. Now that we got the Ravens locked in, we like Atlanta. Atlanta money line.
I like it. That's maybe not. Well, Atlanta actually.
I was going to say, they are favored. That's why I was a little bit more confident saying that. But I mean, but also
you were so convincing. You were so convincing.
Not quite. I need to see Kirk on that Achilles first. But I mean, we both do have the game going pretty much the same. I had it at 20-10, Ren at 23-10 in favor of Atlanta. So we like, excuse me, we like Atlanta to cover the spread, like the under on points. We need to see Atlanta put it up.
The under right now is at 40.5. So I think that we both agreed on the under, but you might have to be a little bit of a sicko to take the under at 40.5.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I suspected we would probably steer away from that, but it's worth noting that we both had the under there. It's not hard to envision that going sideways if Kirk comes out there, throws 4 touchdowns or something, or maybe Russell Wilson is good? Question mark. I think
I will believe it. I will believe that when I see it, but I haven't seen it for at least 2 years.
It's been a while. So if Kirk Cousins can do it, which I mean he's got the weapons to pull it off, so I guess it's not out of the question. But if anything, let's just look at that line and play around with that instead.
Yeah, I like that. I actually I don't mind right now. Right now the line is Falcons -3, which is it's kind of a tough spot to take it. So you'd consider maybe moving it to Falcons -2.5.
Right.
But then also we have this Bengals we have Bengals -9.5, which is where the line was. I just looked; it's actually moved to Bengals -8.5. So I feel even a little bit better about that. About taking the Bengals to win that game by a lot. I think the Patriots
I would imagine, yes, but I would imagine that line is moving because of the Jamar Chase saga that is ongoing. Currently a question mark if he is playing in week 1.
I see.
So that
I don't think that is enough to convince me that the Bengals aren't going to just blow the doors off the Patriots, though. To be honest with you,
I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't have any strong feelings towards the Patriots in any form or fashion. I mean, it doesn't really, like, Jamar Chase playing or not doesn't really sway me too much.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, we're also coming off a pretty injury riddled season for T. Higgins. Joe Burrow wasn't 100% last year, so I mean, there are some question marks around that Bengals team, but that Patriots team is going to be bad.
I think they're going to be really bad, and it's a road game too. Do we know who's starting for the Patriots? Who's starting quarterback for the Patriots?
Brissett is going to be starting.
Brissett, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure it really matters, to be honest with you. I think either one of them is probably going to be. Yeah, I think that Jamar Chase is worth a point, so worth this move from 9.5 to 8.5. But he's worth a point in terms of the game outcome. But I just think it's going to be so much more one-sided than that, to where that movement of a point will matter. So I would take them at where they are at right now, personally.
I mean, I'm on board with it. I just think there is a smidge. I can understand why the line is moving down. Just a smidge of uncertainty around that Bengals team.
Yeah. We do have a couple of point totals here. It looks like we have the under with Titans and Bears, and we also have the under with Jets and Niners. And I feel I like both of those, but I need to remind myself actually.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I like that Titans Bears one anymore. There is a non-zero chance that turns into a shootout. I mean, the bull case is basically Caleb Williams and that Bears offense is the truth. You know, there are a lot of weapons on paper. If you know that all coalesces and looks fluid in week one, they're going to put up a good amount of points. And you know, same thing with the Titans. I mean, there's on paper a pretty decent amount of weapons. I mean, they all might be a little bit outside of their prime, but let's not pretend that these folks aren't like Calvin Ridley is like he's a dog. He might not be like a dog like we were expecting or you know remembering from his earlier in his career. And
this expert analysis by Kurtis Pinkney, things like he might be a dog, but he's not like a dog. I hate that I know what that means, but like it also is kind of useless.
But I bet most people who just listen to that know exactly what I'm talking about too.
So I know exactly what you mean, but man, like just taking it out of context is really funny there for a second.
And you know what? I don't have any follow-up to it, but Tony Pollard, kind of similar. You know, it's interesting. I was listening to a different podcast today, and they were talking about Tony Pollard a little bit. And one of the points they brought up was last year. It was for fantasy, you know, prepping for the drafts, of course. But they were talking about Tony Pollard last year was being heralded as a top 12 running back, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden this year he's just being completely disregarded, thrown away to the wayside. He no longer is good or relevant. The math is not in, and to further that explanation, one thing they brought up was like, well, if you saw that Tony Pollard was a top 12 running back and the next year he was ranked as the 40th or whatever he is, you would think that he's coming off a major injury, but it's quite the opposite. He's 1 year removed from a major injury. So the logic that the Tony Pollard has lost his magic and Tajay Spears was, he was a dog in his own right last year behind Derrick Henry. I think that run game there's potential for that run game to be nice, like nice to, sprinkle a little bit of expert analysis on there. Basically I'm dancing around the point that both of these offenses might be better than I think we're giving them credit for. And it has caused me to rethink or reconsider that taking that under there.
Yeah, I think probably the under is coming from our lack of certainty of what Chicago's going to look like with Caleb Williams coming out of the gate, and
probably,
and there's no reason to suggest that he can't come out and just light up the scoreboard either.
Right.
You'll have to kind of wait and see. The over under is at 45 right now. Seems high enough to take an under, but if you want to stay away from it, I'm just fine with that. And the Niners and Jets is a little spicy too, because that game, I don't actually think that game has the potential to turn into a shootout, but there is enough prowess, I guess, on the offenses there on both teams to where you wouldn't be surprised if it sneaks up into an upper 40s type of game.
I can agree with that, but both of those defenses are top 5 defenses, and I don't feel good about taking over there. Oh, we're trying to take the under. That's what we're saying. Damn, I'm tripping. Yeah, so is that what you were saying? Did I?
Yeah, no. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
it wouldn't super shock me. Is that expert analysis too? It wouldn't be flabbergasting. I don't know if that's any. I don't know. That might be worse. But anyway, it wouldn't be surprising if it ended up being an over. But the over under has moved to 42.5 on that game, so we might want to stay away from that.
Yeah. So I suspect. Yeah, I mean, a lot of folks are probably thinking like we were. Those defenses are not going to allow That's an easy under on 44 is what we had it at earlier in the week, but or I guess last week.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just a quick programming note: if anybody's coming here to a podcast called Football Clowns Anonymous for expert professional advice, just go ahead, shoot us an email, find us on Spotify, YouTube, leave a comment. No, let us know that you want to be on the podcast as a guest, because you, sir or ma'am, are also a clown and deserve a spot. Deserve a spot on here with us. If you are coming here for that expert analysis, you might as well just hop on the mic with us.
Well said. Well said. So actually, I want to propose a 3-leg parlay here really quick, just to kind of summarize our discussions and conversations here. So we have Falcons -2.5, which is a slight move from the line at -3. Bengals -8.5. That's where it's currently at. And then Lions -2.5, because we both see that team is better. We had Lions -3.5. I hate taking a team at -3.5. You leave the field goal possibility out of it. So we could put those three together, throw 5 units on Ravens money line, throw 5 units on the parlay, and
let's do it.
See what happens. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm here for that. We can definitely let that ride.
Perfect. Yeah, I think. I guess we'll have to just wait and see if we're in the hole, or hopefully we're hitting one of these, and we can make it big.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, man.
Yeah, I got one more thing I want you to explain.
There we go. I thought I was getting away.
You aren't getting off the hook with telling me why you're taking the Cardinals, sir.
Yeah.
Why are you taking the Cardinals in week 1? They're playing the Buffalo Bills. You got the Cardinals walking into Buffalo and beating your Bills. How and why?
This is I'm gonna be honest, I don't have as good an explanation as I do for the Jets. This is 100% purely feelings, no facts. It just feels like this is a game. We've got the Bills offense that has lost a lot of firepower in the wide receiver room. So there are some serious question marks at receiver. There's a lot of question marks around, can Josh Allen lead this team and do what Mahomes did, with his band of misfits at receiver last year. I would not be shocked if if Allen goes out there and does a lot of scrub type things and just makes some boneheaded mistakes that cost them the game, probably late. I also kind of sort of am warming up to the idea that Cardinals offense might be okay. Pre-injury, Kyler Murray I think he was in MVP discussions one of those seasons recently prior to the injury, if memory serves. He's 1 year removed from that injury. He's got himself a receiver that we're talking about like the next coming of Jesus. We also talk about that tight end like he's, Travis Kelce light or something, like that. James Conner is all reliable. There's reason for optimism. I'm pretty sure that defense leaves a little bit to be desired, but it just kind of feels like one of those games that Buffalo would stumble and probably shoot themselves in the foot, and to open up the door for a lot of questions and chatter from the media. It just kind of feels like one of those games to me. That's the only thing I've got. It's purely all feelings, no facts. Week 1 chaos type of pick.
Seems a bit like a pessimism pick, just a little bit as a Bills fan, not knowing what that sort of wide receiver room is going to be like, and I know you're high on Kyler Murray too, but I don't know. I feel like this is I don't want to say this is the last chance for the Bills, but it kind of feels like the last. I don't want to say it's the last chance for the Bills.
It feels like a little bit.
It does a little bit though, doesn't it? It feels kind of like their window is closing. They lost Diggs this last year, and they got a great team and they got a great quarterback. But if you can't kind of keep that high end talent such as Diggs kind of retained and together, even a guy like Josh Allen, the wheels could fall off around him, even if it's not him. And he is prone to mistake. He is prone to making those boneheaded mistakes. He reminds me a lot of Brett Favre, actually, just kind of like tries to play hero football and ends up making just a absolutely ridiculous interception. That you just like, what were you thinking? So, it actually, what? I'm not going to say that. It would shock me if the Cardinals go in and win. That's probably
definitely
why
shock
they will.
you.
Yeah, that's probably why they will, or that's why you picked it too, because we should expect some shocking stuff in week 1. But I'm not going to pick it. I can't do it. It doesn't make any sense to me. When I saw it, my eyeballs fell out of my head. I'm like, what are you doing, sir? Like, you're insane. You're insane for thinking that. So
I think I need to get at least. It also is just kind of an itch for me. I need to get at least one kind of wild pick in there per week, because one of these games is, I guarantee it. Every week that we play, there's going to be one of those games that we're just going to look back and just, how did that happen? And this is my pick for that. This is my throw at the dartboard for it.
Yeah. You also have the Browns. I can't let you get away without the Browns too. I mean, you got the Browns winning, which actually
the Browns were favored.
It's crazy to me. The Browns shouldn't be favored in week 1. They just shouldn't be favored in that game. I know they're home and there's question marks on the Cowboys, but what on earth is going on with these lines?
You don't have to explain that. When I saw that they were favored, because I thought for sure I was picking an upset with the Browns winning there. And to go and find out that they were favored, I was like, that's crazy. I don't remember if we looked at these lines before or after the CD contract, and maybe that had something to do with it. But
I just checked. The line is still there. But CD's gotten paid, and the line is still there. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Somebody's got to explain that one to me. With the way Deshaun Watson has been playing quarterback, there's no way in hell that Browns team should be favored against that Cowboys team.
No,
that's crazy.
Not at all. I want to air out really quick. Just to get him on the air so that you have the opportunity to come back and roast me. You being the general, you, the listener, or my co-host Curtis can come back and ruin me for this. There are 3 games where, at least when I placed the bets, the lines were -2.5. And I've heard, or at least I haven't done any of my own original research on this, but I've heard that the 6-point teasers actually work really well when you cross the 3 and the 7-point markers. So for the team that's +2.5, if you can move the line use a 6-point teaser to move 6 points across the 3 and the 7, that's where you can get some value actually if you do that for 2 different legs at the same time. So I have 2 2-leg teasers for this coming week on my own personal account. Both of them have a common leg, and that's Ravens +8.5. So these are 6-team teasers. So the Ravens line was +2.5. I jumped the 3 and the 7 over to 8.5 on that one. That's the shared line, or the shared leg in both of them. One of them has Packers +8.5 against the Eagles, because that's a neutral site game in Brazil. Nobody should be favored in that game, in my opinion. Those are 2 teams that have something to prove. Nobody should be favored, and I have it as a 1-score game, regardless of who wins.
Also going to be a great game this week.
It should be, but I think it's a 1-score. I could see the Packers winning, no problem. Yeah. But if the Eagles win, it's probably going to be, even if the Eagles win, it's probably close. So that's one. And then the other one was Cowboys at +2.5 leaped across to 8.5. So Packers are paired with Ravens, and Cowboys are paired with Ravens. And I fully expect to cash both of all 3 of those legs to cash me 2 bets, which is why I will fail miserably. That is all.
If those fail, then we need to throw away everything that we have come up with up to this point and start fresh, because there's no way you miss on those.
The football gods will find a way. I agree with you. I feel really good about them, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, good luck with those. We're looking forward to hearing how that works out for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks again for entertaining all of my crazy math and stats predictions here in this episode.
Yeah. And, so I mean, let's want to wrap up. We're talking a little bit of week 1 games that we're interested in. Love that Ravens Chiefs game to open the schedule, or open the season. Got an eye on Sunday night for Rams Lions, and got to see A-Rod upset the Niners on Monday night. And we talked a little bit of betting strategy, nerded out a little bit. I think I suspect that'd be kind of a cool segment to maybe refine and moving forward. We'll have to workshop that offline. And talked a few bets. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. It's awesome. Looking forward to repeating this and like you said, refining it and sort of repeating it week in and week out, and seeing if we can't win some money, but also just enjoying the ride that the NFL script writers have for us this year.
Yeah. Next week we'll try and stick with our schedule as we have it outlined. We'll be coming to you live from Monday Night Football, talking about what we're seeing from the game up to that point, and go from there. Do some game recaps from week 1 and talk about some bets moving forward. But
awesome.
In order for you to hear about that, see it, listen, like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube. Email us. I don't remember what our email is. Ren, what's our email?
Just footballclownsanonymous@gmail.com. Just no spacing, no nothing, just straight up. We'll put it in the
show notes,
description or something like that.
Show notes or the description. Yeah, that'll work too.
Yeah.
Put it somewhere. Yeah, awesome. You'll see it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for joining along, and enjoy week 1, and we'll see you again next Monday night.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
Yep.